These two juicers look almost identical, same features, same promises, but after using both, I kept reaching for one way more than the other, and it comes down to a few things that people don't realize before buying. On this side is the Tuumiist 3-in-1 cold press juicer, and on this side is the Eanoruus 3-in-1 cold press juicer, which is actually one of the most popular in this category. The biggest difference I noticed wasn't specs, it was how they actually feel to use, and so in this video, I showed the capabilities of both of these by testing the real juicing, so you guys will get to see it in this video. The Eanoruus just feels easier to use day to day. It's smoother when feeding ingredients, less stopping, less adjusting, and that matters more than anything in my opinion, because the easier it is to use, the more that me personally, I'll actually stick with it. Now, both of these have the 6.5-inch wide chute, which is a huge game changer, and I really like this. You can drop in whole fruits and skip a lot of prep. So here they're basically equal. Now, in terms of juice output and performance, this is where people start questioning and where I definitely had some questions. My biggest question was, is the juice output actually as good as they say? And one of the best ways to test that is by seeing how dry the pulp is. Now, both of these are strong. You're getting high yield and smooth juice either way. But what stood out with the Eanoruus is consistency. It just runs more predictably, especially when you're doing multiple ingredients back to back. That reliability matters more than small differences in yield. A big concern is clogging, especially with things like celery. Both have auto reverse, but the Eanoruus felt a bit more stable when pushing through tougher ingredients. Less stopping, less frustration, just smoother overall. Another thing I wanted to test is how loud both of these are. So I put this to the test and I will let you guys hear that. But both of these are quieter than traditional juicers from what I observed, so no huge difference here, both are pretty reasonable. Now, as far as cleaning, and this is one of the most important parts for me, because if it's annoying to clean, me personally, I just won't use it, but both are designed to be easier than older juicers. My wife and I found ourselves cleaning the Eanoruus faster. The parts just felt a little more intuitive to rinse and reassemble, and that's the big difference between using it once in a while and actually using it every day. In terms of build, let's touch on this because this is important. The Tuumiist might feel slightly more quality in terms of the build and the materials, but in real use that didn't matter as much as how the machines actually perform. So in terms of features, both of these are 3-in-1, and so that means it can do juice, nut milk, sorbet. So feature wise, they're basically the same. So at this point, they're very similar on paper, but this is where the real difference shows up. If you're trying to decide which one to get, it really comes down to this. Which one are you actually going to use consistently? Because both can make good juice from what I've seen, but the one that's easier to use, easier to clean, that's the one that I will stick with the longest. And for me personally, I kept going back to the Eanoruus. It just feels smoother, more predictable, and easier to live with day to day, in my opinion. So out of the two, this is the one that I favor. But I think both of these are fantastic juicers, and they are very, very popular. I had a great experience using both of these, and what we were able to make from a juice standpoint was so delicious, and I loved being able to also make that sorbet. Having it all in one is super convenient, and just love this. Love the whole process. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this helped.